Okay, it's Mark. I'm going to start a minute early. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Something kind of funny, actually. Ron Cole, I guess, yeah, you're here tonight, so it's partly about you. So something kind of funny. Uh, Justin Rasch has some animation he did, which is really amazing. There's an introspective picture of Phil Tippett, and there's this Clay Kids channel on YouTube, which is really nice as well. So we're gonna get started, and first we're gonna talk about our monthly challenges, and of course there's a lot of time left. We have until January 28th for everybody to complete their challenge entries. And so basically it's called A Morning Experience, and Clay Mara, who's also here tonight, she came up with this topic for the challenge. And basically what you have to do, of course, many people know this already, but if you're new to our channel or haven't entered our challenges, this might be a good first one to join. Now basically what you want to do is you want to create an animation around the theme topic, which is a morning experience. You upload your video to YouTube, and then you just post it in our forums under this thread. So just to recap for anybody new, of course we have up top here we have monthly challenges, which you click, and here are the rules as well. So if you're new to the rules, just kind of skim over these little 5 rules. It's pretty simple. It's actually very there's nothing very strict about these challenges, so it's more about having fun. And maybe Bobby Harling will join this one next time. But you click this little link, just click to enter, and you can also check out what we've done in the past. And we've had a lot of challenges. Some of them are fantastic entries. Some of the animators on our site have created things that are, you can make, they could actually pass off as TV commercials. So really, top-notch work. And also there's beginners as well, but there's no, when people enter these challenges, nobody says, oh, yours, is such a horrible entry, you're like a little kid or something. Everybody is actually really nice and helpful, and everybody's very encouraging, and it's all about learning. So if you're afraid of doing animation, it's a really good place to try it, to try out some of your skills. If you have a web camera and some software and a little time, and just we discuss them during the live shows as well. So for January 28th, what we'll do is we will click on this link, and as people start to post their entries, we'll click the links and watch them. We discuss them, and if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions about improving their work, or just want some feedback or encouragement, that's pretty much what we do. So definitely check it out if you can. Now also, if you guys recall, our New Year's Eve broadcast was it kind of had a problem where we were watching, I think it was Shank's Effects videos. And Shank Effects is awesome. It's an awesome channel for anybody that's not just into stop motion, but into creating digital, not digital, but actual hands-on in-camera effects, and adding them to your films. So, for example, if you want to have clouds or smoke or laser beams or dancing lights or anything like that, or laser blasts, Shank Effects actually has tutorials on how to do that. Now, it doesn't involve any digital programs like Blender or After Effects or anything like that. It's all done in the camera. So anyway, we basically, to make a long story short, we had broadcast like half of one of his videos, but PBS, here in America, PBS is the public broadcast system. It's basically people donate money to this public broadcast company, and then they make videos and they post them on television, and it's publicly owned. So we did that, and we learned the hard way that YouTube will cut you off and stop your broadcast. So anyway, the nice part about it is it took a little time to figure out, but I had recorded the broadcast on my computer at the same time that I was uploading, the live stream that you're watching, like now. It's actually recording on my computer. And so what I did is I edited out that PBS section and re-uploaded in our YouTube channel playlist the part that was deleted by YouTube. So after editing out the PBS part, they did not delete the restored upload. So if you guys want, if you missed it, you want to watch it, and you can see how we screwed up and made a big mistake, and laugh at us if you want to. It's right there. So go to Animate Clay is our channel, and it might be a little bit hard to find. We have a lot of videos on here now, but you scroll down, and somewhere down here is playlists, and you want to click on Live Stop Motion Chat Show. So if you click on that, you will see all our videos. And so tonight we'll have the fifth video. Now we should only have 4, but of course we split that last show into 2. So, all right. Now for the funny thing. And so Ron Cole, oh man, somebody reviewed it. And it did not give a good review, it looks like. But now Ron Cole, he's actually here. Yeah, so I have to be careful about what I say now, I guess, don't I? But Ron Cole is a tireless advocate of stop motion, and in particular, he has been wanting to bring back stop motion in the same way that Ray Harryhausen had done stop motion, which is to do, just to create characters that are realistic, puppets, and blend them in seamlessly with live actors and actresses, right? And it's a dying art, and there's new technology, and there's ways to give characters motion blur and to do camera moves and all kinds of stuff that was never possible, for even Ray Harryhausen to do. Well, it wasn't impossible. I mean, Ray Harryhausen could do anything, I think, but so Ron worked his butt off, and he talked to the he talked to the producer, and he said, hey, you know what, I'd really like to add some stop motion to your film. It's a Sinbad film, right? So yeah, it's a Sinbad film. Ray Harryhausen is known for adding his puppets and characters to all these Sinbad films, and they're popular, they're famous, right? So Ron Cole finally gets his wish granted, and the production has a lot of, from what I understand, there were a lot of problems, and is it going to be put in theaters? Is it not going to be put in theaters? Is it going to be direct on DVD? Is it going to be just released on YouTube? And actually, it is on YouTube, which you can rent it. But they released it, and this is, I believe, this is in the UK. So I don't know if this is in America also. So this is probably a PAL video. So if you wanted to get this in America and you played it, you probably can't. I mean, you could, but I think your DVD player, if you have it on a computer, has to be set up to play PAL videos. But anyway, so here is the insulting part, right? And of course, Ron knows this, and he posted it, and not a lot of people said much. But so Ron, he gets his wish. He makes stop motion puppets, and they work it into the film, and it's like, of course, the best part of the film are the puppets, because the rest of it, well, people are kind of putting it down a little bit. So, but anyway, what does it say down here? It says the CGI is mind-blowing. So hellhorror.com, okay, they get a copy of this video, and they say the CGI is mind-blowing. What they're actually saying is the stop motion is mind-blowing because it's stop motion puppets worked in with live actors, right? So now people are going to see this video, and Ron, who is tirelessly trying to bring back stop motion into the mainstream, thinking this is our big break. We're gonna get stop motion out there. Everybody's gonna love this, and the next thing you know, maybe it'll be on the big screen again. And sort of Ray Harryhausen's in his sort of style and animation. Of of course, you can't use the word Dynamation, and they tried to use Dynamation at first in this film because it's so similar. But anyway, so a lot of you guys probably know this already and have seen this quote, but how it got approved to be put on the front of the DVD, you know, how it got past the producer. I mean, what the heck? I don't know what they were thinking. It's almost insulting, right? It's almost insulting that they put that on there. So it's like I'm just thinking, you know, I know Ron is watching this, but I'm just thinking like, what's in his head? He's probably thinking, okay, back to the drawing board again. You know, let's start over again. How are we gonna, you know, people are gonna not understand what we're doing, and I mean, it just has to be so frustrating. So in a way, it's kind of funny, but almost, I mean, I feel so bad for you, Ron. I really do. I mean, it's horrible. But so I don't know. I think that, you know, hopefully Ron Cole will get approved to post some of his shots on maybe a demo reel or something, so that way at least on YouTube he could, you know, hey, look, this is stop motion, people, you know, here it is. I swear I've got pictures of myself, you know, in my basement making these puppets. And so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it an insult, but it just comes down to sheer ignorance, you know. Hellhorror.com, whoever it was that was, you know, doing this little review and giving a testimonial for their DVD saying that the CGI is mind-blowing. It's just really ignorance, you know. They just didn't know. And you can almost understand, you know. It's like people see characters nowadays, monsters with actors, and they're mixed together. You just automatically think it's going to be CGI. I mean, even the new Star Wars films that they've released some of the footage, it turns out that like the X-Wings, like there's a shot with like 3 X-Wings flying over water, and then there's this background. Everybody's like, oh, you know, that's all CGI. But it turns out that there's very little CGI in it, but people are so accustomed now to seeing CGI that they can't even tell stop motion, and you know, when they see it. It's kind of sad. So Ron Cole says, well, there is CGI in the film, just not for the creature effects. Yeah, I don't think they were talking about that, though. Don says that, Mark, maybe the reviewer was just commenting on the box cover. That would be even worse. That would be even... He says, reviewer, I didn't have time to watch the movie, but the packaging is great. And Bobby Harling says, they make CGI to look like stop motion. So, yeah, that's true. That is true. There are some CG people that do try to emulate stop motion very closely. And Claymora says, is the new Jurassic Park movie going to be with stop motion animation? And I don't believe it is. I know that Phil Tippett is involved. I know that for a fact. But I don't believe... I mean, maybe they'll... If they do animatics with stop motion, that would be nice. But I don't think they will, because when they did that for the very first Jurassic Park, you know, back then it was like, oh, you know, they might actually follow through and make all of the dinosaur effects stop motion. So they were building puppets and kind of seeing how things would work in a rough sense before they would have used real puppets. So I don't think they'll do that. They'll probably use just CGI for their animatics and storyboards and stuff like that. And then Stan Winston, you know, Legacy Effects now, I guess, would probably... I'm guessing they would hire them again and just have them build all the full-size dinosaurs and stuff. And Ron Cole says, truth to tell, I don't mind that confusion at all. CGI can be phenomenal and he says CGI can be phenomenal and For as often as people say stop motion can't compete with it, it's actually a compliment. That's true. I guess you could see it that way. And Don Carlson says the CG Gazette calls it the most amazing flying logo text design since Sheena, the warrior princess. Yeah. But who knows, guys? Who knows? It's just one of those things. I just think, you know, at least call it what it is. Be, you know, truthful. That's just my opinion. But let's see. Let me close that. What is that? All right. So moving on. This here channel on Vimeo is Justin Rash's Vimeo channel, and if you guys haven't visited his channel before, he's got some really great animation. In fact, you know, Justin worked at Laika on Paranorman, and his background is more two-dimensional animation. So I don't know if he's, you know, I haven't checked here, but let me just check really quick. He might have some pencil tests on here. Yeah, he does. Okay. Now, what's interesting, you know, there is a certain style that he has in his animation which is more in lines with two-dimensional stuff than anything. And his animation really sticks out because of that. So let's just watch this here. It's pretty short. We'll actually play here, which I don't know if it will. Let's try this. I'm going to refresh this page. Let's try to reload this up here. Alright, come on, play video. Yeah. Alright, thanks Vimeo. Alright, let's go back. I'll try to play a different one, just to kind of make my point really quick here. Yes. Vimeo is working wonderfully here. Alright. Now these better play, because if these don't play, I mean, what's going on with Vimeo here? Alright. So this will play, but the 2D jump test doesn't want to work. Well, anyway, never mind what I just said. Never mind. I'll go back here. And so he's got a lot of videos anyway. And yeah, he does two-dimensional animation, which is something that, you know, I think that when you learn two-dimensional animation, hand-drawn animation, your mind sees things a certain way, and it translates differently to when you start getting into stop-motion puppetry. And if you guys have seen Paranorman, you'll probably recognize this character and that he's dancing, and there's a certain section in the film where this character dances. And there's two tests that he did, and the one that he, I guess, is saying he likes the most, or the one that was the second test, he basically mixed up both of these tests and used different moves from each one in the final film. But anyway, we're going to watch these and kind of examine how things move, because the motion is great. So let's just check this out. Problem is because I have it playing in HD, so I'm going to take it off HD here. Let's play this again in lower quality. Oh, come on, video. Yeah, I'm not really liking Vimeo tonight. It doesn't want to play anything. So let me read some of your comments here. So Ron Cole mentioned that. Alright, let me go back here. You guys are posting a lot, so. So Don says, you know, I feel the same way about claymation. And Don says people always calling foam rubber clay. Yeah, the Clay Kids is not clay. And it says copyright clay animation maybe on some of the videos, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if they've, tried to copyright the term or something, or maybe that's, I don't know. I don't get that. But Ron Cole says Justin's working on the next Laika film, and yeah, it's called Kubo and the Two Strings. Yeah, which Bobby Harling actually mentioned that. I don't know, but we're going to try and play this one more time here. Let's see if we can see it. Oh, basically what he did is every time there'd be a drum beat there, a loud drum beat, he broke down all the poses into each of those beats. So he would come up with a strong pose and try to hit that pose right on the beat. So let's just watch it again and see if you can see what I'm saying here. Alright, so there's a method to, how he's doing that, and he pulls it off great, and the puppet also works amazingly well. And if you look at the puppet's neck, how it stretches and how everything works, like the puppet just, it doesn't have any, I mean, it must be amazing to work with these puppets because you can do whatever you want. Even, that little pelvic thrust thing he was doing there. Let's just watch this one more time now. Alright, so that was the first one he did, and or that was the second one it says, and then here's the first. And this one here, he kind of adds like a apprehensive look to his expressions and whatnot, and you'll see there's a big difference, almost like he's unsure of himself as he dances. And I'm hoping it'll play here. I'm going to refresh it one more time. It's only 19 seconds long, so it's not like it's just a big video. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So there's a whole different sort of character in the body expression and the posing, which I thought was interesting, the differences. One is sort of confident and one is sort of like, I don't really know how to dance, but I'm gonna try it. And then at the end, he has this sort of strong, arrogant look on his face, like, yeah, that was great, wasn't it? So it's amazing what you can express through the puppet. So you guys were talking about how Justin's animated himself. Yeah, he's really athletic. And Ron says, it looks like he shot down on 2s as a test, he says. Ron Cole says, Justin is the real Spider-Man, which is possible. And let's see. So Don says, Mark, Vimeo Animation Camp really goes into what Justin is doing in his tests. Different characters, of course, but the same principles. And Crodista is saying, has anyone else seen his Dogonauts work? Yeah, actually we have. A lot of we actually interviewed Shell on the show and showed some of the videos, and they're really nice people. And And Claymore says, I hope it's going to be a feature film. And Don says, brought and downloaded. So let's watch this one more time. Alright. So I just thought that was a great set of tests. And again, you can see this if you go on Vimeo and look up J Riggity, J-R-I-G-G-I-T-Y. And again, like, he's got just tons and tons of videos on here. He's got some run tests, and he's got here's another one. This is Norman Walk. And it's fairly simple. You know, it's not an extremely you know, there's not a lot going on there except for the walk and just the sort of body posture of Norman, where he's kind of got his head down and looks sort of timid or maybe sad. And a lot of the animation that you see, and the reason why a lot of, when you watch a feature film and you see a puppet walk, and you say, well, if there's, let's say there's 10 animators, you know, and each time they do a walk, there's like a continuity between the characters. You know, how do they do that? Is there some kind of trick, or, you know, why does it always seem like they walk the same? And do they sit down at the table and say, well, we're going to do this, and you know, we're going to lift the arms only this much and the feet this much, and so forth. Actually, a lot of it comes down to the actual armature inside there, and you can only, you know, stretch a leg so far before it has to hit the ground again. And so when an animator actually gets in there and looks at a puppet, a lot of times they just grab it and they can intuitively know, you know, how far that foot has to go before it comes down again. But, or, you know, if they overextend the leg, it's going to look really, you know, strange as they walk. So any good animator that picks up a puppet can sort of examine it and say, well, I think that, you know, this leg should move this far. And most of the time, most of the animators will agree on the same distances and so forth. And I think there were some paleontologists that looked at some of Willis O'Brien, some of his animation on King Kong from the 30s, and they said, you know, how is it that you know, Willis O'Brien knew how those dinosaurs could have really moved? Because, you know, 50 years later, we figured out that they really did move that way. And most of the time, it's just because if you look at a puppet and you hold it, and, you know, you can just sort of intuitively know how it's going to move. Which is why I believe, you know, most of the animation is continuous throughout different shots. And that doesn't go so far, like if you're going to have a character like doing a breakdance move or something like that. I'm talking about just simple walks and stuff. But Ron Cole says, simple, ha! Well, let me just say, maybe not simple, but straightforward. Straightforward is probably a better term to use. And Crodista says, love me some Norman, such a nice character design. And Brian is here. Claymara says, I like Coraline. And actually, you know what, we've got some news about that. So if you guys like those films, you can actually own some of the puppets. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Ice Pick Method says some people don't like the silicone ears. Actually, are his ears silicone, or I believe they're printed plastic, if I recall. I know Justin Rasch was, when I interviewed him, I asked him that question. I said, is there like a translucency to the plastic, because it seems like you can see through his ears, and he said that there was some translucency. So the actual material had the ability to have light, transfer through it, just like most plastics would, I guess. But I wasn't really sure because I think they used powders, right? So they used powders in a machine which laid down these powders, and then a laser hits it, I think, but it's not very strong, and then they dip the whole thing in cyanoacrylic glue, which is like crazy glue, pull it out, and then sand it. So it's not truly, I mean, is that truly a plastic? I guess it could be considered plastic, right? Crazy glue is kind of like a plastic when it dries, but so let's see. So Don says his hair is designed to be stiff so the animators can find other ways to keep the puppet lively. He almost is dragging his feet too. This is a low-spirited walk. And Brian says, Corpse Bride was Laika before the lawsuit for the name change. So you guys are discussing that, yes. So Claymore says, I'm writing a bunch of stories for this year's animations. I would like to make, however, I'm making it very difficult because I'm creating lots of characters. Yeah, that's a problem I have. My next film that I want to work on has potentially a lot of characters. And because Zombie Pirate Tales, I'm getting close to completing that already, so it's really exciting. Took me 11 years and I'm almost done. So, all right. So, but anyways, moving on, guys. There is in the California. Let me see. What is this again? Oops. Where are we at here? California Sunday Magazine. It's called. It's a web page that has interviewed Phil Tippett. And of course, if you know who Phil Tippett, if you don't know who Phil Tippett is, he worked on many films like Empire Strikes Back and Dragon Slayer and Return of the Jedi, all the Star Wars films, either in making monster masks, or he was doing a whole bunch of stuff. Stop motion animation. He was doing just a little of everything. He worked on Jurassic Park, as well as Claymara mentioned before, because she asked if there would be stop motion in the next Jurassic Park. And Phil Tippett was the guy that was going to actually do the stop motion in the first Jurassic Park before Steven Spielberg saw Dennis Muren's CG work and the computer animation versions of the dinosaurs and said, Phil Tippett, you're extinct, Or I think Phil Tippett said he felt he was going to be extinct. I think that was how it went down. But I saw this picture, and it's got this room, and it's undoubtedly Phil's studio space in California. And so I did visit his studio one time. I almost got a job working with him on Starship Troopers, making molds, but there's a whole backstory as to why I didn't get that job, and it's kind of funny. But so here's his studio, and the picture itself I thought was really, really interesting, because here is Phil. He's already, he's showing his age. He's got a big white beard, and he's got his animation tables and apple crates, I guess he calls them. They're just wooden boxes that are used extensively in stop motion filmmaking, actually. But he's got all these like C-stands lined up like toy soldiers, and he's got some puppets here from Mad God, and he's got boxes of files, and he's got green screen. He's got big boards with black fabric on there to block out light. And when I was a kid, I always aspired to be like Phil Tippett. I wanted to get a job on working at ILM, making spaceships or making puppets, or just being involved in that whole era of filmmaking, because I was creative and still am creative, and but back then, I didn't know so much, and when I saw things that Phil created, I was just like, wow, it's amazing stuff. And I still look at it, and I look at Empire Strikes Back and the Tauntaun scenes and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, wow, amazing. And here he is sitting in his studio, but Phil does not look like a happy guy. And I kind of wondered, he's still involved in Hollywood, and he's still making films, and he still has a passion for stop motion, but the guy just doesn't look happy. And I'm sure if he were watching this live broadcast, he'd be like, what, who cares, if I'm happy or not. But I just kind of wondered, what he feels about, his life's work, making aliens and monsters and that kind of stuff. Is it a fulfilling life or not? Because he doesn't look very happy. But anyway, I don't want to get too deep on my show. But if you guys are interested, check out the California Sunday Magazine. I'm not really sure if there's no way for me to post the link, as YouTube doesn't allow me to post links to my chat box anymore, as Livestream used to. So YouTube doesn't let me do it. But this is by Chris Baker and photographs by Mark Mahoney, I guess, Mahoney. And so they kind of talk with him about what he's done throughout his life. And so he's 63 years old, and he just kind of goes into everything. And there's some great pictures on here, and I thought, if you guys are out there and you're a big Phil Tippett fan, you'd probably want to read through this. And I'm not going to read it, on the live show because it's really long. But you can see some of the pictures they posted, and some of these pictures are really kind of fun because you can see, the artists, their desks, and you can look at all their tools, and you can see what they're working with. They have like tap and die sets, and they have drills lined up in on foam or something here, and I thought, wow, that's a pretty cool way to organize your tap and die sets with your drill bits, is to put them in foam like that. So there's little things you can actually pick up on if you're really observant. But here's one of the Mad God puppets, which they've probably used foam latex and other materials and little beads and maybe some false teeth or something. Just I don't know where they got some of these things, but looks like the teeth are actually upside down, like the top teeth are on the bottom, and just it's kind of fun to look at all this stuff and examine it. And he's got some stepper motors here, so it looks like they were trying to rig up something for cameras. Really kind of just fun to look at these pictures, and they're really big too, aren't they? Don Carlson says, I bet he's smiling on the inside. So Brian says, get Tippett to guest judge on Face Off. That's a good idea, sure. And but anyway, these pictures are really kind of cool, and you can see here, the first Star Wars film. Rick Baker, I know, was also working with Phil Tippett. Rick Baker is a really famous makeup artist, and they made some of the first masks in the very first Star Wars, not the prequels, but in the 1970s. Is it Episode 4? I guess first one. And yeah, so here is one of their puppets that was in Jurassic Park that they've put under plexiglass, and this is a foam latex puppet that they use for their tests, and it's seen better days. But wouldn't that be awesome to see that actually animated on a big screen with motion blur? And probably would be pretty awesome. Here again are some of his awards. He has an award shelf and some of his maquettes, and ED-209 or RoboCop 2, I guess. Here's a, looks like a King Kong armature, which I don't believe would be original. Maybe it's a sideshow collectibles or something. And then here are some of his Mad God puppets. You can see them all together. Very dark kind of film. Very dark, and you can see, you know, C-stand parts and wooden boards, and I'm gathering that a lot of these things were mounted just on wood and then placed in front of either, I don't know if they were using rear screen projection or green screen or some other techniques for these, but you know, interesting to look at. Like I said, very interesting. And also another thing behind here is a giant wedding veil material piece that's stretched across a frame. Kind of gives a sort of misty, foggy sort of look behind them, but that's one of the tricks they use in Hollywood, is just to do that. A New Hope. Is it episode 6? And Ron Cole says, let me see here, let me backtrack. He says, I met Phil and he has a dark persona and a dark sense of humor. I think it's a fun act he plays. And Don says he's probably crushed by the loss of Uncle Ray. Yeah, I think when Ray did pass, he probably was. I think he was one of his major influences to have him pass away. And Brian says the Cantina had lots of artists playing extras if their personal monster makeup looked good. And Ron Cole says, I got the impression that Phil enjoys the evil persona like a Don Rickles of stop motion. And Ron corrected Don. He says, episode 4. Yeah, I think it's episode 4 also, but... Alright, so... now it says here, each of the Mad God animated puppets is built around an articulated metal skeleton that allows it to be moved in tiny increments. The film's protagonist, the assassin, is at the center. Yeah, this is the main character right here, of course, but most of you guys know that already. And here's another shot of Phil, and he's just working at his desk after hours. And I think Phil said something on his Facebook page about this article. He's like, if it's in black and white, you know, it must be true. So I think he's referring to these photos. You know, like he's obviously pretending to do something here. You know, he's acting for the camera, and so he was being a little bit candid about that, I guess you could say. But anyway, so. Again, the California Sunday magazine is where you can find this, and it's at californiasunday.com is the web page. But okay, so you can scroll down and actually find it on their front page. So californiasunday.com. So it looks like they cover a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe artists, writers, other news. I'm not really sure. You know, I'm not a regular of their webpage, but very, very good article. All right. So Ethan Duploy says, "What's this?" We're just talking about Phil Tippett and where you can see a really cool article about him. So. But actually, we're done with that story, so if you want to stick around, we can talk about what we were just talking about earlier. Clay Mara had mentioned liking some of the films that Laika puts out, in particular Coraline. And so Heritage Auctions is actually auctioning off its 250 pieces from different films. So we have Laika, Paranorman, and from Box Trolls as well. And they've posted some pictures. And now, again, obviously when they sell these puppets, they're going to be like $65,000, $30,000. You know, nobody watching this show can afford it. I'm sure of that. But they said you can actually go to Beverly Hills. Let me see here. Where is this going to be? Actually, I didn't know it was going to be in Beverly Hills. I thought it was going to be in Texas. But let's see. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But Heritage Auctions posted this up in a few places, like Cartoon Brew on the internet had posted this as news. And I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Okay. So here's one of the actual puppets they're auctioning off. And okay, so it's going to be in Beverly Hills, California. And bidding will be on January 23rd. But you can actually go there and see these things yourself. Now, I don't know if you guys live out there or not, if anybody watching this lives out in Beverly Hills, but you can go out there and see this, but I'm not sure if you can take pictures. If you could, it would be awesome and a great opportunity to actually take pictures of real stop-motion puppets from Laika if you're a fan. Here we go, view larger, okay. See if we can get these to load up big. So you can see here Coraline, and you can see some of the details of her face. In fact, her whole body. And you can see how amazingly detailed these are. Let's see. So, so Ron says people associate what I'm doing with continuing what Ray did, but that's never how I saw it. I always thought of myself as following up on Phil's work. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess if you look at it in a generational way, it's, you know, that would make sense because you're coming after and you're using different technology, so I can understand that. But I think Ray Harryhausen just, you know, if you think about that style of animation, well, I guess Phil would be someone you would think of. But lesser known, which is kind of, I don't think as many people know, but so Crodista says no way these puppets would sell for that much, and the Nightmare Before Christmas puppets didn't even sell for that kind of money. Who knows? But it's going to be expensive. Yeah, it's really cool that I got to see some of the sculptures, actual sculptures used in Paranorman. Check out these little shoes. Even the shoes are pretty detailed for a puppet that size. Let's see here. Actually, okay. Let me show some more pictures and then I want to talk about something else, but here's a side view in all her glory. And yeah, check out these little stars they put on her clothes, and I think a lot of these were hand knit fabrics too. And her ankles look a little bit weird, like they're bent the wrong way here or something. Here's the back. You can see on her hands, they're a little bit worn out from animation probably. Here's her hair. It's amazingly detailed. I mean, this is like microscopic detail that they put into this. And each one of her hairs, you know, is perfectly in place. It's just amazing that they could do all this. Let me close out. Let me see. Close this. And we'll show some more here. Okay, so let's show Norman, who is an awesome puppet. Make it larger. So you can see the 3D printed face. So the question was are his ears silicone or not? And I can tell immediately that they are printed for sure. You can see the little lines inside there. So not silicone. The neck is probably silicone, I'm guessing. But yeah, check out the detail. It's awesome, isn't it? And Cordista says, yes, there was a woman who worked for Laika who knit the sweaters and clothing. And Ron says, I'm currently making a replica of a prop, A Nightmare Before Christmas, and the client is paying a couple of $1,000. That's great. And it's just a replica. Yeah, who knows what these will sell for? I mean, there's just no way to know. You might get two people that are like, yeah, you know, I gotta have that particular puppet. It's so awesome. That puppet changed my life. I want to pay $90 million for it. You just never know. The hands are amazing, aren't they? Look at the coloring they used here. Just very subtle, you know, but these hands, like I say, are teeny tiny. Even his shoes are just amazing. They're so small, but they got all the little stitch work in the outside here, and it's just awesome. And they've got another just giant picture of his face. Whoop. Can I go back? Oh, all right. Let's see if I can. Yeah, so you can see where they had the seam lines where those replacement faces snap on, and digitally they would, of course, you know, erase those. Most of you guys know that already. But there's one, where is it? This zombie one, which is just extremely awesome. This one here I think will sell for the most. It's so detailed. And Don says, ears are probably printed, but you can shine light through them from behind and they will glow just like real ears. And Bobby Harling says, I saw A Nightmare Before Christmas cookie jar for $500. Ooh. Did you buy it? Might make your cookies taste better if you pay that much for a cookie jar. And so Don says, Norman's hands have 5 fingers. That's almost unheard of in stylized, cartoony stop motion. Yeah. Check out the zombie. He's got 5 fingers too. And I was watching a video yesterday. Oh, I probably should have brought it up. But our show's about to end anyway. I guess it's already time to end the show pretty soon. But sometimes they make these clothes out of silicone, believe it or not. What they'll do is they'll sculpt the puppet, put fabric over it, and make a mold of it, and then cast it in silicone and paint it so that, you know, it's a lot easier for animators. There's no rippling of the clothes. Like, you know, for example, if you were to move this puppet's leg, this zombie, you might accidentally twist this fabric on this upper leg to the left, and then after that, the next frame you might twist it to the right by accident, and you'll get like a shimmying effect during animation. So what they've done is they'll sometimes make a mold of the actual fabric and then cast it in silicone and paint it and dry brush it. So it'll look like it's fabric, but it's really not. So there's a lot of really cool little, you know, tricks like that. This here, I'm sure is, you know, partly real fabric. This guy here, I know he's got like a hole in his stomach you can see through, and you can also see like little frayed things, like fabric threads kind of coming off here. Just amazing. I don't see the side of him. I can't drag him to the right, unfortunately, but you can see the side view, and here's an ultra close-up view of his eyes, and you can see each little paint stroke, like almost like watercolors, like a watercolor artist would have painted these things, you know. Urgh. Yeah, you know, Clay Kids, I don't know if we have enough time for that. Maybe I should show that before we end the show, though, because it's pretty awesome. Actually, Don, I think it was you that posted Clay Kids, one of the videos. There's a side view. That's amazing. And what's the guy's name who sculpted these? Mark something. I've got his business card here, I think. Where did I put his business card? No, I had it. He came to, he showed all his stuff in Springfield, Missouri, where I live, all his sculptures, and this was one of the sculptures that I saw, which was so awesome. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about Clay Kids, because we got about 5 minutes left. So if you guys don't know what Clay Kids is, let's see, I guess they've been posting videos. What's their earliest video? About 2 years ago. How long was this? Oh, it's only a minute and a half. We could probably watch this. Yeah. Now, if YouTube cuts the video off tonight, at least it's at the end of our broadcast.
La velocidad a la que patinan estos chavales es una mera ilusión, porque los protagonistas de esta serie son muñecos de espuma de látex. 80 profesionales les dan vida fotograma a fotograma. Para animar cada episodio necesitan disparar 8.000 fotos.
Recolocamos cada muñeco en las diferentes poses y vamos haciendo fotos. Entonces esas fotos luego las reproducimos una detrás de otra y se produce como la ilusión de movimiento.
Para modelar cada muñeco utilizan resina, silicona y látex, materiales que les permiten mover cada milímetro del cuerpo.
¿Recuerdas la última vez que patinamos?
El esqueleto es de hierro y bolas articuladas.
Entonces tú los brazos estos puedes ir doblando los dedos porque tienen alambres muy pequeños trenzados dentro. Y hacer las posiciones que necesites.
Cada personaje es una miniatura que actúa en 22 minúsculos estudios de grabación y en cada uno de ellos el decorado se cuida al detalle. Este es uno de los escenarios permanentes que tiene la serie. Se trata del aula en la que los protagonistas reciben clase y tiene dos perspectivas. La primera, la de la pizarra y la profesora. Y la segunda, la de los chavales en sus mesas. Ambas perspectivas permiten a los animadores rodar plano y contraplano. Ahora graban el capítulo 18. En un par de meses, esta fábrica de sueños habrá acabado la primera temporada de Clay Kids.
Obviously in Spanish, but you can see on their channel they do have some translated versions, some English versions, and I'm not sure, it seems almost like they animated this one particular episode I watched in English. We'll just briefly watch some of this now.
Like kid, I'm flippy. I rock to the hip and the hop. Miss Anderson would never ever get me to stop. Motor's not living in the lab, man. But if there's a machine, he's the genius of the game. C-L-A-Y, kids. C-L-A-Y, like kids. That's Carol. She's a brainy girl. She wants to erase all the pain in the world. Robbie like to mess with the other boys, but he's my bro. So please make noise. DJ Motor. Naomi got the best lipstick. She always wanna be the flyest kid. Jesse on the skates and he's sick with the tricks. Irregular statistic, known as a misfit. My boy Albert, but you can call him Einstein. But he always stay on the sideline. C-L-A-Y, like kids.
Yeah, we're not actually going to watch the whole episode, but like I say, we've only got a few minutes left, but it's a really cool channel to watch. This is obviously just like an introduction, but if you want to find it, go to Clay Kids space official on YouTube, and you'll find these. And there are some great examples of animation here. I know they've got another channel. I've watched a lot of these videos before, and it said I wasn't subscribed to this one, so I subscribed to this channel, but I know there's another channel. But anyway, there's some English, Spanish versions, and obviously a behind the scenes video or two. So anyway, that does conclude tonight's show. I do want to thank you guys for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you guys all next week. So thanks a lot, and see you guys all later.